But when you're younger, it's quite confronting. You think you're really good at something and then it's like, oh, God, why am I doing this? Today on The Moment, you and I are about to catch up with somebody who is an absolute icon of Australian music. I know that you remember the song Absolutely Everybody. How could you forget? Absolutely. No, I'm not going to sing it for you. I couldn't do it justice. Not quite like Vanessa Amorosi does. My goodness. What a powerhouse she is. And what a party anthem Absolutely Everybody was. Came out in the year 2000. She sang it at the closing ceremony of the Sydney Olympics, of course, and then it just went global. And from that point onwards, basically, it became a song that she gave to the world to use as a soundtrack for their own celebrations, which is amazing. Well, Vanessa Amorosi is about to have a celebration of her own, celebrating 25 years in the music business. Can you believe it? So she'll be touring Australia in April next year and doing some quite intimate shows where I think she plans to tell some stories as well as play all of the hits, of course. And some of those stories will probably involve the likes of Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics, who she's worked quite a lot with over the years and also toured with the likes of Joe Cocker. So looking forward to those kind of stories. But as well, I imagine there are some cautionary tales, which I'm about to ask her because she's lived an interesting life and she's been in the business for 25 years. And I have no doubt she's also got some stories about growing up through the 2000s and what that was like as a young woman, not just in the public eye, but under the scrutiny of a media that seemed to think that they could do and say whatever they wanted. So I imagine it was a bit brutal for a young woman at that time. So I'm going to ask her about that and I'll add that to the list of lots of questions because she's probably got a lot of wisdom to impart as well. Vanessa Amorosi, hello.
Hello.
You're looking very glamorous for middle of the day in LA. Are you in your studio there? Is that your recording studio?
Yeah, this is the little makeshift one. This is the one that does most of the work, but it's not pretty looking, but it's very efficient. So,
what are you recording? Are you working on any new stuff or do you work on music for other people as well?
I'm constantly working on stuff. And then because all of my friends are musicians, you know, they'll come over, they'll use the studio for a while. I'll come and sit with them. We'll end up writing stuff, go on different journeys, you know, creatively together. So it's kind of handy having a little hub, you know, where there's no time restrictions on noise because I don't really have any neighbours here. And this studio's come in handy. I did have a really beautiful, big, lavish looking one and it never got used. Like nobody was ever in it. And now the one that looks like a little, I don't know, a little shack is it just always got a good energy and a lot of people in it.
That's unreal. Was it always a studio or did you set it up there yourself?
No, once I bought the house, we set up a little studio and we're in the midst of building the second one now so that we can record drums live and, you know, have it set up versus breaking it all down in between of recording. But yes, I'm always writing songs. I'm always in here tinkering around music-wise when I'm not on the road.
Can I just say, though, I've noticed as I'm getting older, the idea of working from home makes so much more sense, doesn't it, than having to, you know, go somewhere else. If it's easier to do, especially when you've got family and whatnot, if it's easier to do when you're at home, it's just changes everything, doesn't it? I love it.
I mean, it makes it easy for me because I'm never home. I'm constantly touring. So I would hate to come home after being like this next run I leave on the weekend. I'm gone until Christmas. We're doing shows in Germany for 2 months and it's a pretty full-on show. So I feel like when I get back, I don't really want to leave the ranch. I want to be able to stay put for a little while and not go from city to city. And it would be a pain in the butt, especially in Hollywood in itself, getting in and out of Hollywood. It's insane traffic-wise. So I would spend an hour in the car and then by the time I get there, I'd probably lose my motivation and creative energy. I'd be like, just send me back home, please.
I totally get it, Vanessa. So in Germany, what tour is that one? That's not the Proms tour that you're going on as well, is it?
Yeah, Night of the Proms. It's like 100-piece orchestra, 50-piece choir, big arenas each night. It's amazing. It's the most exciting thing to be a part of. So many incredible musicians that I get to work with. And then I get to do stuff that's a little bit out there and a bit more risky. And then on top of that, I get to come home and then use a little bit of those tools in the show that I get to do at home.
Oh, that's fantastic. What do you mean by out there and a little bit risky? Are you singing songs that you wouldn't normally sing, perhaps?
Absolutely. I've got a 100-piece orchestra and a 50-head of choir.
It's
So I
wild,
pick the
isn't it?
particular songs that are like fully lavish arrangements. And yeah, absolutely. I try to pick the stuff that I wouldn't do with a 3-piece band. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And is Sister Sledge on that tour as well?
There's normally each year they rotate and they have really big acts from all around the world join it. So it's Alice Cooper this year. And then last year was Dave and I. And then, every year it rotates. So there's a bunch of, it's very interesting show because it goes from, we had last year it was Shaggy as well. So it was really cool R&B reggae-ish. And then it went into these classical pieces, even movie stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean. And then out of that into the Eurythmic stuff. So the show is like a roller coaster. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned Dave, and that's Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. That was
Yes.
a friendship, collaborative relationship that happened many, many years ago, and you've obviously kept that going. I mean, that is huge. Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics is one of the absolute greats. I mean, so formative for all of us. How do you look back on, I guess, when you first started working with him and what he showed you about music that you brought into your own career?
He gave me a lot of confidence to get out of the lane. I was stuck in a lane musically where I was just kind of, I don't know, living the same thing over and over again when it came to writing music, and people expected one thing from me and I just could not get out of that lane. And he really helped get me out of that. And I was working on a lot of gospel arrangements, but once I met Dave, Dave allowed me to do a bit of that on his record, and he really encouraged that. Then we did a record together, which was, using a bunch of different things that people wouldn't expect from me. So I think he's given me the courage to let me be more free musically and not feel like I get pigeonholed where I have to deliver a pop song because that's what I did when I was 14 and 15. So I love that. But then in saying that, I get to still dabble with that and then do my other things. So it feels like a complete journey musically that I go on.
Yeah, that's so good because you actually need that. Because we're reflecting on 25 years. That's the show you're doing in Australia, and you'll be going through your history and the songs that have been big hits. But as a human being outside of being a performer, you actually have to evolve and you have to grow and you have to change. And sometimes it's very difficult, I think, when people only know you as a pop singer and expect that from you. And it makes them uncomfortable when you push yourself outside of that. But as a human being, you have to do it, don't you? Like you really do. Otherwise, it's not as satisfying and it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the songs have to evolve. They don't have to change so much, with sound. And I feel like a lot of people feel like evolving a song means now it's a total different sound. The songs can still remain the song that people love of it, that sound that people love. But I can't sing like a 16-year-old anymore. I'm not top-endy and bright. I have way more tone, more middle range. I have a much bigger register now than I had as a kid. And my pocket, I feel like my pocket is far better than what it was as a kid. And it's just from years of use and singing different styles and learning how to place it. Also, when I started, it was all about the fastest chops, the biggest run I can put in there, the highest note, get to the highest note. And now that I've matured and experienced music on so many different levels, I understand how important feel and tone is, that velvet tone, a vibrato. So I think now when I go to sing these songs that people remember me from as a kid, I feel like they sound better because I have a lot more experience on delivering and I have more tools in my box than what I did when I was like 14 and 15 doing these songs. But then when it comes to a songwriter, because I've lived such a crazy roller coaster life, songwriting isn't as simple, and it's hard to be simple now. When you're younger, you don't have the education and the musicality to do stupid things. So it becomes quite simple and fun. And so they feel like a nursery rhyme that's not cheesy but fun. And then as you get older, you go to do the nursery rhyme thing and then you want to get real crazy because it's like, oh, well, what if I did this and what if you pulled that off? And sometimes it takes away from just feeling good. It becomes messy and you have to think when you're listening to it. And what I have discovered is with music, there's a time where you want to listen to it and study it and be taken away. But then majority of the time you want to listen to it and it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I think it's just, the more that you dabble in your art, the more you have a better understanding of what it is you like to deliver and what it is you like to hear, and then what you want to use versus trying to throw everything at it.
Yeah. I love that you feel like your voice has gotten better, because mine's just gotten lower and I sound more and more like Patty and Selma from The Simpsons every day.
Mine is definitely much, much lower than it ever was. And it was low in the beginning. People recognize me for this high vocal and the big notes, but my vocal even back then on the Power record, every time I close my eyes, is pretty low for a kid. But now I still have all that top end and all those high notes, but now I have a much deeper, lower vocal. And I kind of love it. I love it. I love simmering down there low and then slowly like exploding on some high and then getting back to the low, because people just don't expect it.
Yeah. Speaking of those high notes, though, I looked back in preparation for this 2-year performance for the Sydney Olympics, and I'd forgotten how freaking high those notes are. I was like, how could you do this? It was incredible. The entire thing. Looking back at that, I mean, that's an audience of gazillions. I don't even know numbers. Do you look back fondly on that experience, or was it just a blur?
I look back at it and it feels like another person. Like it feels very, I get, very emotional about it because it was such an important part of my career. And I really battled. Like, I had to climb the ladder as a kid. I was gigging and I was singing top 40 and I was recording on spare time that I had. And then we got singles out there because Have a Look was the first single. I'd gone to record labels. Every one of them had rejected the songs that became hits, saying they weren't good enough. So there was already such a battle and pressure cooker and journey of feeling like this is just not going to happen. And then when I landed the Olympics, I feel like with Heroes Live Forever, I had this thing in me where it's like, I have to earn this spot because the people that I'm among are the people I grew up listening to, and they're the legends of Australia. And I am a nothing, and I have to earn that spot. So I know with Heroes Live Forever, that's why the vocal is so low to high with long notes and stuff, because I just felt like I had to earn it. And then on top of that, like, I look back at it was a big risk to take with so many people watching. I think that if I was to do that again, I wouldn't risk like that. I'd play it safe because I've learned better. But I pulled it off, and that was the start of really pushing the envelope. Like, not only was I singing these pop singers and going at a time in the music industry where there was a lot of female artists, and it was based on looking sexy as well. And I didn't have any of those formulas. I just had a vocal that I really, after that moment, went, okay, this has to be all about my vocal. And at every opportunity when I'm in Europe doing things to represent what it is that we're trying to get out there, I have to sing live because that's the only thing that sets me apart. So it was a big turning point.
Huge. And with it, so many eyes on you. It was a rough time, though. I wasn't even thinking about this before talking to you, but a rough time for young women in the music industry around that time too. It was brutal. I think about the way women were treated in the media, and, we were judged by how we looked, and, it felt very personal, my experience anyway, if people were judging us in the media. And I think it was an environment where it was okay to say awful things about women. It was like an open book almost at the time. And I regret I didn't push back a lot more as someone who worked in the media but was also on television. But I see younger women pushing back a lot more about that stuff now. Would you have done any of that differently? Did it ever make you feel uncomfortable, or did it ever stop you from being who you wanted to be, I guess?
There was definitely a formula that was happening. My experience when I was coming through those, I don't know what you call it, I don't know what the old saying is, through the pipes, whatever that is.
When I was pipeline,
there was a formula. The songs had to be 3 minutes
Yeah.
30. You had this amount of time to get to your chorus. The hook had to be repeated a few times. It had to be the title of the song. The singer had to also be a dancer. There had to be a routine. There had to be sex appeal. You had to be a certain weight. You had to be feminine. There was a formula, and I did not fit into it. I was a country girl. I thought being sexy was really weird. I just was immature in that sense, I suppose. I wanted to wear, caterpillar boots and big baggy army pants and singlets. I wanted to wear fox racing stuff and ride motorbikes. I didn't want to be looked at as sexy. I felt really uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And it was a thing, That's why I think I learnt to really lean upon my vocal and make that be the talking point, and then the rest of the things just fall behind that, versus people trying to make me do routines with dancers and wear these revealing sexy clothes, because you just would have laughed. It would have been so awkward to watch me, because I felt awkward in my body back then. Now I love it and embrace it because I understand my body and I enjoy my body. But back as a kid, I was just like, why is this about my body? Why is this not about my vocal? Why is this not about this delivery of my performance? I want to be like Janis Joplin and be wild and crazy. I feel like I did stick to my guns a lot, but I missed out on a lot too because of it. Some countries really gravitated towards me and loved me for it. Other countries were like, we just don't get it, go away. So it was an experience, and I feel like this day and age, I love the fact that the younger generation of musicians are embracing themselves, and they're much more relaxed, and it's not so formulated. It's just a feel. Everyone's looking for this feel, a nice tone. And, if you want to look like Sabrina, you can, and be gorgeous. But if you want to be more relaxed and more hippie-like, there's a place for that. And I think this is also what, Spotify and things like this have done. It's really opened up the music world. There's so many different categories for us to go into. When I started, if you wanted to have success, it had to be pop music, because the rock stations were very, very small. And secondly, I was in rock bands as a kid doing Primus and Mr. Bungle and Tool. But that didn't make any sense to anybody. I was this 5-foot little nerdy girl singing these crazy rock songs. At one point there was a conversation of whether I should be a country artist, because I loved animals and I had horses. And as a youngster, I could mimic pretty much any style you gave me, because that was what I was doing already, working as a club singer, as a wedding singer. I had to mimic top 40 to a T. This day and age, with music being just so accessible on all different styles, and the internet being as present as what it is, you can have a connection with somebody that really relates to you, and there's no restriction on it anymore. You can find these people.
Yeah, and I think that's so great for young women coming up as well, because they can actually be more authentic. And I hate that word gets used so much, it's almost lost its meaning. But you know yourself, the stuff that has probably been the most successful for you personally in your own memories is the stuff that you're most proud of, because you connected to it and you felt more authentically you when you did it.
I'm super proud of my songs, and I feel like I really did stick to my guns. Like, even with absolutely everybody. I mean, it's a straight up happy, feel good dance song. But if you look at the millennial delivery of that song, where I'm in my fox racing top and I'm pretty 70s when it comes to the performance, it was true to what I was. And so I got away with doing pop music, which I loved, but being myself while doing it. I didn't have to be something else for it. So I'm proud of that journey, and it makes me love the songs even more now when I listen back to them and watch the audience, had lived their own life with these songs. We all kind of revert back to teenagers, and it's amazing feeling. I feel like not much has changed when that song comes on.
Absolutely. You've had so many highlights. I was wondering what sticks in your mind, I guess, aside from the Olympics, but what sticks in your mind as one of your fondest memories?
Touring with Joe Cocker for Europe. That was one of my first big tours.
Amazing.
With him. And
tell me more. What was that like?
It showed me the way. I can't explain it. It showed me the way. Watching him up on that stage, the pain of his vocal, and seeing that live every night. And then on top of that, he had these two phenomenal backing singers, which I'm actually good friends with now. But watching them just sing the shit out of these songs on such a level. And they all moved differently. Like everyone was doing choreographed stuff when I was watching shows, except for Joe Cocker. It was like the girls were spinning and just screaming and wailing. And then he was wailing in between of these songs. And I just 2 hours of the most extraordinary vocals, not to mention he was such a beautiful human being and really nurtured me a lot because it's my first time on the road, and I learnt a lot from watching those shows each night. And then, of course, then touring in Australia and the amazing artists that we have there. I've grown up with every one of them. I've learnt from the best. I've been on the side of stage with the best of them. And it shapes you and it teaches you to step up. It's never going to be good enough,
That's really interesting, actually. Is that the case? You always feel like you have to keep pushing?
Absolutely. I think the moment you become content and comfortable with not growing, especially for me as a vocalist, I don't know. I don't know. I've never got there. I always think it can be better. And it has. It's improved every year. Sometimes it's 2 steps backwards and then it suddenly makes sense. So, it's the same with like guitar playing. Like you'll have those moments where it feels like it's all coming together and then, any instrument, it's all coming together and then suddenly you play one day and it's like you'd never picked up an instrument in your life. You're like, why do I sound like I've never done? It's the same with the vocal. Like some vocals, I mean, it you can turn it on, switch it on, and you try to do something different. And you're like, oh, wow, that was probably the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. So it's like you got to work towards those moments, have those couple of steps back in order to get in front of that. So I kind of like it when I get to the moment where I go, wow, that's awesome. I can't believe I've lived off music my whole life because that was really interesting.
Oh, look, we all have those moments. I think it's very common. I have them every day, and you're right. It keeps you pushing forward. And the minute you're complacent is kind of the minute you're just kind of phoning it in. It's over. I think we need to feel like we've got to be kept on our toes in order to keep doing what we're doing. And you get used to that as you get older. But when you're younger, it's quite confronting. You think you're really good at something and then it's like, oh, God, fuck, I can't even.
Suddenly you work out,
why am I doing this?
That's why I love working with different musicians in different genres, because it's like the moment I feel like I got this, I know this, and then I step into a world that I don't step into, just say like jazz musicians. I step into that world and I'm like, I don't even want to contribute because I just know like I'm way behind the ball. So it's like that's the great thing about music. The moment you feel like, yeah, I got this, my lane is good here, you step out of that and you try something different and you realize you're way behind the ball. Like I've always loved gospel music, and the reason I moved to America is because I got the opportunity to work with gospel choirs. And when I stepped into it, I thought I am super prepped, like I've got it all ready to go, counter melodies, what have you, let's go, got the vocal, I can sing everybody's part. And I got in there and I immediately realized that I had so much more work to do, that it wasn't good enough. And then I had to step to the plate and I had to prove myself. Like when I walked into those places, I had to sing like a freak in order to get people to even listen to me. I'm an Australian chick. What right do I have? And I kind of live for those moments where I put myself in these really uncomfortable situations and be among people that are the top of their game and try and learn from that and then incorporate that into what I do. And it might be just one little tiny ingredient, but that tiny ingredient has now changed the whole outlook of everything that I've just done.
Yeah, we are a composite of all the parts that we gather as we go along, aren't we? And it's amazing. Sometimes it's the hard stuff and sometimes it's the great stuff, but all of it comes together somehow and allows us to become fully formed at some point, I imagine. I'm not there yet, but I feel like we will get there. But I often think about, that younger kid, and especially maybe for myself too, and what I would say to her if I was to do it all again. Do you have any ideas about how you'd go about it maybe differently, or would you maybe that's not even a thing? Maybe it was all meant to be. How do you feel when you look back at that younger person?
Oh, I have so many regrets. I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm not going to put the spill on like, if I didn't do those things, I wouldn't have learned. I get so mad. I just cannot think about the things that could have been done better, or if I would have known, like if I just no, I can't go there. I just got to be like, it is what it is. Obviously, it had to be that way. But is there a million things I wish I could tell myself as a youngster to steer clear of, or to add, or to make sure this gets done? Absolutely. The list would be a mile long, because I swear I learned my most valuable lessons by being the biggest, I don't know, making the biggest mistakes of my life, I guess. And then I've written some of the best songs I've ever written by making the biggest mistakes of my life. So it's just, I guess it's hand in hand, but to do it easier, that would have been nice.
Oh, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Well, that wasn't the answer I was expecting. I was expecting to say, no, it was all meant to be. It was all going to happen. And it's like, sometimes it's good to go, yeah, no, that was fucked. And some of those things should never have happened. And I think we've got to be more open about that, because life is not easy. And I imagine it's compounded by being under the eyeballs of an entire world at times that would have felt like that. So, yeah, it's refreshing to hear that from you. So, yeah.
I mean, the blessing is that we get to do what we love, and I've survived off it. And I've grown up in the music industry, and I've watched a lot of incredible talent fall in between the cracks and not be able to survive the way I've been able to. So the blessing is that I'm still here doing it, and I still enjoy doing it, and I'm still physically able to do it. So that's the main thing that I try to put my energy in, but I definitely don't go to the other side.
No, can't afford to, can we?
No.
No, you're awesome. It's been such a joy to catch up with you, and I really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you in April when you come back to Australia, and you're doing a national tour, and that'll be a celebration of the 25 years, I assume, all the hits, all the memories, anything we might not expect. Or
Well, I'm choosing very small, intimate venues, but the sound is going to be huge. So it's not acoustic. It's going to be party your ass off. And, I have some crazy, weird stories I could probably throw in there, especially because it's a small crowd. And the good thing about doing a smaller, intimate venue like this is that I can cater to each performance. Like when you're doing stuff like what I'm just about to do, everything is scheduled right down to the second. There's a lighting show. There's hundreds of people working. You can't afford to throw a spanner into the works because everybody falls apart. But when you do these smaller venues, you can totally flip your set list. You can go off on a tangent talking about some random story. It's all about the connection and the celebration of the songs that everybody loves, celebrating the fact that I've grown up with everybody, and we're going to celebrate these songs again.
Excellent. Can't wait. Vanessa, thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is an MIK Made production recorded on Wurundjeri land. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land.